Congratulations, you just got promoted. You just got a new title, a pay bump, maybe there was even a department announcement about it. And then you were left to figure it all out on your own. Now you're sorting through a whole new role, leading people with no honest conversation about what you just stepped into, with no warning about what you'll be facing. So I'm going to have that honest conversation with you right now, because there are 7 things that blindside almost every new leader that nobody warned you about. Hi, I'm Jen Arnold, and I help new leaders navigate their first people management roles. 60% of new leaders fail within their first 2 years, and I don't want that to happen to you. These are the things that I wish someone sat me down and said before I accepted my first leadership role, because I was so focused on the title and the pay bump that I didn't think about the challenges I would face. And there's one thing on this list that almost nobody has language for, but I'm going to give you that language before this video is over. Let's go through these 7 truths. Truth number 1, check your ego. If you don't, someone will check it for you. I remember going into my boss's office expecting praise for something that I did. And instead of praise, he said, "Hey Jen, how's your team doing?" I was taken aback. And this part of me, driven by ego, was like, "Hey, what about me?" But that was my wake-up call. It wasn't about me anymore. Now, when you were an individual contributor, you could take all the credit. You hit the target, you got the recognition. You got a bonus, you got a reward, at least you maybe got an atta-girl or atta-boy. When you lead people, that changes. If your team just launches a new product, the credit goes to them. The celebration is for the team. And your job, your actual job, is to be genuinely glad about that. But if nobody prepares you for the shift, it can feel like you're disappearing a bit. You're not failing, you're just dissolving into the work of other people. This is one of the biggest identity adjustments new leaders face. Not because they're selfish, but because the entire feedback loop they've relied on to feel competent and valued has just changed. Hell, it's probably what got you promoted in the first place. And most organizations don't warn you about this. They just expect you to feel differently about it instantly, overnight. Now, as a leader, if your team succeeds, you succeed. It's not an individual game anymore. And that adjustment is hard enough on its own, but it's even harder when you add what's coming next. Because this one is one nobody's ego is prepared for. Truth number 2, you're going to suck at first. You spent years becoming excellent at something. You had mastery. You knew the work, you had relationships, and you knew you were good at it. That confidence was real because it was earned. Then you step into a leadership role and suddenly you're fumbling through a conversation that you don't have words for. You're making a call you're not really sure is the right decision. You're realizing during a meeting that I don't know how to answer this question. The skills that made you exceptional at your old job don't automatically transfer to this one. You're a beginner again at something that feels like it should come naturally, but it doesn't. And for high performers, people who have spent their whole career being good at things, this gap can feel disorienting. It doesn't mean you're in the wrong role. It just means you're in the early days of learning a completely new skill set. But nobody tells you that. So instead, you just feel like you're failing and you question if you should have even taken this leadership role. But know this, you don't grow by staying comfortable. You grow by doing new things that you're not good at yet. So embrace it. Let yourself suck at first and learn your job. Here's an even trickier piece. Truth number 3, there's no handbook for the hard stuff. You can use AI for almost anything. Project timelines, meeting agendas, performance review templates, one-on-one conversation starters. But what doesn't necessarily work as well is when you have situations like this. My 2 best employees hate each other and the whole team is suffering. My boss just asked me to do something I think is wrong. Somebody on my team cried during our one-on-ones and I don't know what to do. These are the gray areas, and they happen when you least expect it and when you are unprepared, because you can't really get prepared for these unpredictable situations. And your team is already watching how you handle them. Not because they're judging you, but because how you show up in this gray area tells them everything about who you are as a leader. But the trouble is, nobody taught you how to navigate any of this. So you're making judgment calls in real time, hoping and praying that you get it right. You will make the wrong calls sometimes. All leaders do. You're dealing with people. We're complex, we're messy, and there's not always a right or wrong answer. Please know that sometimes it's your best judgment call, and navigating all that alone would be hard enough if you had time and space to think. But you won't. Truth 4, you will feel the squeeze. Above you, your boss needs results. Below you, your team needs support. And you're in that layer, you're in that messy middle, absorbing pressure from both directions. You might spend your morning trying to understand the new vision and the new strategic direction that the company's taking, knowing your team is going to have something to say about it. Then you spend your afternoon trying to sell that strategy and vision that you're not quite sure you believe in to your team. That is what makes leadership feel lonely, because your boss doesn't fully understand what's happening with your team, and your team doesn't fully see what's happening above. You're the only one in the room who sees both. You have to do two things. You have to advocate for your team and sell the strategy to them, even when the decision coming down from above isn't one you agree with. You still have to deliver it. The squeeze is a reality of the job. Now, real quick, if this is already hitting close to home, make sure you're subscribed. I post new episodes of The Made Leader every single week, and turn on your notifications to get alerted. All right, if you ever felt like something got taken away from you when you got promoted, stay with me. Truth number 5, your time is no longer your own. Okay, this one brings me back to being 9 months pregnant and filling out 15 performance reviews at 10 o'clock at night while HR was breathing down my neck to get them done on time, because I sure as hell couldn't do them during the day when I had a million meetings. Now, as an individual contributor, you could put your headphones on, you could get things done, you could block your time, you could focus. No more. Your calendar is now someone else's to-do list. There's questions, there's conflicts you have to deal with, check-ins, one-on-ones, urgent messages that need you to weigh in. Getting your own work done, the planning, the thinking, the reports, becomes a puzzle you solve around everyone else's schedule, usually before work starts or late, or squeezed into the 15 minutes between back-to-back meetings. That shift can be jarring, especially for people who built their sense of value around what they personally produce. There are ways to protect your time, set boundaries, and get your priorities done. That's for a future video. But no new leader I've known ever starts their role that way. And underneath all of that calendar chaos, there's something quieter happening. Something most leaders feel, but almost none of them say out loud. Truth number 6, you get further away from the work you loved. This one's quiet. It sneaks up on you. You got promoted because you were exceptional at a craft, whether that was writing, designing, selling, coding, building, whatever it was, it gave you energy. Now you manage the people who do that thing. You advise it, you review it, you approve it, but you don't really do it anymore. For some leaders, that's energizing. You find your satisfaction in developing people. That's real and that's a beautiful thing. But for a lot of leaders, it's quiet grief, a low sense of loss that you don't quite have words for. Because how do you explain that you miss your old job when you just got promoted and you're supposed to be happy? It can feel like you're being ungrateful, confused, even a little embarrassing. But it's real and it's more common than you know. You're not alone. All right, the last truth, truth number 7. No one is coming to save you. So here's where we are. You've got the identity shift, the reality that you're going to suck at first, the gray areas with no handbook, the squeeze from above and below, the calendar that belongs to everyone else, and the quiet grief of leaving work you loved. And here's what most organizations do with all of that. They hand you a title, they hand you your pay bump, and they walk away. 82% of new managers receive zero training before or after becoming a manager. Zero. Not inadequate training, not patchy training, just nothing. So you're expected to figure this out while you're already doing it. It's kind of like learning how to swim when somebody's already pushed you into the pool. I'm not sharing this to make you angry. I'm not sharing it to make you not want to take a leadership role. I'm sharing it because the people who actually get ahead have stopped waiting for their companies to invest in them, and they invest in themselves. So that's why you're here. That's why I've created this channel, is because I wish I had it when I was first starting out in leadership, when I was figuring it out alone in real time without support. So if that's where you are now, welcome. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, and you're not alone. So if you have watched this and recognized yourself in any of these truths, that's not weakness. That's awareness, and it's a critical part of leadership, and is where good leadership starts. If these truths made you realize you may need to clean up some mistakes, Check out my video on the 3 critical mistakes new leaders make. I'll see you in the next video.